Welcome to the Power Platform Boost podcast.
Sorry, I wasn't prepared for that. I love it, by the way, but I wasn't really prepared. Oh, sorry. Oh.
Welcome to the Power Platform Boost podcast, your timely source of Power Platform news and updates, with your host, Ulrikke and Nick Dolman. Hey, how's it going?
Hey, I'm good. How are you?
Good. So, it's been a few weeks.
Yeah. We launched the release note episode during the summer holidays. It was pre-recorded, obviously, so we haven't been recorded in a couple of weeks. And it feels good to be back on track. I really missed recording this podcast with you. So it's good to be here.
Yeah, me too. No, it's good. And yeah, you had a good vacation?
4 weeks off with the family when we've been camping and we've been going to family parks and zoos and doing all the things that the kids love. And yeah, just having fun in the Norwegian summer. So it's been great. Have you been traveling anything on your end?
No, not too much. We went to I would say a wine. We went to wine country this past weekend. Sounds very snootish, but it was good. Visited a lot of a place here in Ontario called Prince Edward County. So anybody who's local to Canada probably is aware of it. A lot of wineries and breweries and a lot of food places. So a case of eating too much, drinking probably a little bit more than normal, and yeah, just tasting a lot of wine. And I'm not a wine person, like I like it. So at the end with all these descriptions and this and notes and whatever, it's like, yeah, wine tastes good, notes of grape. And
yeah, I had the kids version of a holiday and you had the adult version of the same holiday, I guess.
Exactly.
And somehow I wish I was in your shoes. I want to go to wine country. That sounds perfect for me. And I do know other notes than grape.
Exactly. Someday we'll do that.
Yeah, and I'm supportive of the. So if anyone that sees the picture of the podcast later will notice that I'm wearing a Canada shirt that I got from Nick when we were in Dublin as a gift. So I'm there with you in spirit.
Awesome, representing. Yeah. So, as much as we could talk about this could be the travel and wine and food podcast.
Yeah,
maybe we should do that.
Oh yeah, oh that'd be awesome.
Cool.
Yeah, we do have other news. We do have other things to talk about as usual. It's a long list today as well. It's been piling up during the summer holidays. And today actually we have a lot of podcasts. Weird to be promoting other podcasts, but there's a lot of great podcasts out there. And the first one is one we've mentioned before, of course, Amazing Apps with Neil Benson, our Australian friend. He had an episode launched this summer with Chris Huntingford, a good friend of ours as well, where it says, and the clickbaity title is, Chris Huntingford doesn't believe in citizen developers. I love it. Can you, more clickbaity than that, I don't get that right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No. I was agreeing with you. It is clickbaity. We have to think about what's our clickbait title going to be this week.
Oh yeah. We need to figure out something smart. No, but and to be fair, yes, it is clickbaity, but still, he has a point as well. Because Chris Huntingford doesn't believe in the citizen developers. He has another mindset, and he thinks about it in a slightly different way. I really love that episode. It speaks to something, or I feel it's organizing my thoughts that I already had about this. So they point out 3 important things that you need to consider in terms of COE, Center of Excellence, or Center of Enablement when you're bringing in Power Platform into a company. And that is, what are people making and who is making it and where are they making it? If you can answer those 3 questions, then Chris, he says that then you're on your way. Then you know what you're doing, and then you have the COE taken care of. But he hasn't been involved with a project or a customer yet that can answer yes to or no all of these 3 points. So they talk about COE a lot, and I really like the angle that they're talking about it from. And really
yeah,
nice
it was
to
interesting.
listen to.
Like interesting when we talk about citizen developers and in companies and things like this, and it's something. It's not that I don't believe in citizen developers or what Chris called makers as well within a company. I think we've all, I know I've seen it, I'm sure you've seen it as well, where especially people build these big complicated Excel spreadsheets or these access databases, and that's not their day job. It was just something they built to, to solve a problem that they had. And of course, the Power Platform has a great number of tools to help solve problems like that. However, I still see people use the platform to solve those problems, but it's always not necessarily the people with a day job building those. And in certain cases there are, but I think still the majority of apps are built by, still call them makers, but it's almost their job is to build these apps or get others to build those apps for them, or they build apps for other people. And you called it low code or pro code or whatever. To me, I think there's professional standards and things like that. Like as coming from a developer background, I find it probably easier to build from a pro code standpoint than it is to work through some of the low code tools, like in building Canvas apps and things like that. You still need that logic or figure out how all this code works and things like that. So it's not like it's easier, it's just a different mindset. Still very accessible, some of these tools, but it's still, you still need to have some skills there or ramp up the skills. And I like the conversation they had about some of the mentoring that I know Chris does. And of course the hackathons, right? To learn how to use these tools and upskill yourself on all these things. So
yeah, and train the trainer, and it's and we need to coexist in the same platform. The platform needs to accommodate for both the developer, the pro developer, and the low coder or the maker or the people in the process that we're trying to help improve. And so and that's a complicated thing to get right. And I think maybe we forget that sometimes when we criticize or or want things to be a little faster or maybe better, and it's a hard ask to create a platform that really helps both, or enables both the pro coder and the low coder as well. So an interesting conversation for sure.
Yeah, so definitely check that out.
Yeah, do.
And now turn.
Yeah.
The next thing in terms of the accountability segment, with our friend Mike.
Yeah.
Who and he good on Mike. He's going through the alphabet of his A to Z. Sorry, we're all Canada here, of accessibility, and it looks like he's up to definitely he's into E. So yeah, he's moving
the
along.
The evolution experience.
So good on Mike. Keep it up, and we'll keep you accountable as we move along.
Oh yeah, definitely. Yeah, and we have another great community friend of ours, Megan B. Walker. She also have a podcast, marketing related, that's out every week, and it's a newsletter that she reads in as a podcast. So that's also a shout out to Megan, and that's worth a listen. But also this week she caught our attention with a new blog post series. She's actually making an event portal from scratch using Power Pages. She's 3 blog posts in with this, and explaining and going through step by step what you would need to do if you want to hook a Power Pages site up to the marketing app as your website.
Yeah.
So that's great work, Megan.
Yeah, because I think with anybody working with Dynamics 365 marketing, I think it's well known fact that it does come with a website or an event registration site built in Angular, which is kind of an odd language. I wouldn't say an odd language. I think it's Angular is very well used, but within the Microsoft context, Angular's probably not that I wouldn't call it popular, but well known within building web applications. So it is something that you can traditionally inject into a Power Pages site or build your own website and inject it in there. But what Megan's doing is kind of, I wouldn't say abandoning this, but taking a completely different approach, but using Power Pages to build that up, as you said. So yeah, good on, definitely a very interesting, and she's showing her learning process as she goes through the series. So if Dynamics 365 marketing is something that you're into and you do need to build an event site, definitely an aspect to consider there.
Absolutely. And regarding marketing, there's a lot of actually talk about marketing this week. I saw a post from a very good friend of ours and a friend of Megan's, Amy Holden. This week again, Amy, good job. She's talking about how a couple of weeks ago there was a name change. They're bringing Dynamics 365 marketing and customer insights together and calling it Customer Insights. Is that right?
It's got a longer name. It's something Customer Insights and Customer Journeys or something. But
yeah,
yes.
Yes,
it's
called, what
called,
it's going to be in the...
Yes, Customer Insights, Journeys, and Data.
Exactly. So you know what that's going to be. It's going to be Customer Insights pretty soon, right? So
yes,
yeah, we all know how that's going to go. But she has a good post on LinkedIn, and I love that when people do this, I think that's very good. It's one thing to create a blog post, and you have this whole article and you explain it into details, la la la. But actually, in this, everything moves so fast, and we don't have as much time to read blog posts. So she wrote a simple LinkedIn post where she explained, the things that you need to consider if you're using Dynamics 365 marketing. And she puts it directly in the post, and I think that's very good. So of course we'll have links to her post on our show notes, and there's also a link to the official FAQ site. And as she says in the bottom, I'll continue to call it marketing, and I'll continue to call it CRM. So, and that's, I think, what I heard from the community as well this week. It's CRM is not dead, and marketing is not dead, and Power Apps portals, and you know the deal.
Yeah. What, name changes? Microsoft doesn't change names.
Not at all.
But yeah.
Something else changed also during the summer. Yes. Licenses. And we're not going to be that kind of podcast, but we need to touch on it. So there's a change in licensing. Mm-hmm. And because you work at Microsoft, this is go to town. Explain it, please.
Explain licensing? Simple.
Please.
If you have money, please send it to us. No, it's a different. It's interesting. Like the idea around the Power Platform licensing is there is the idea of getting it to a more simplified, and I think this is something I think we all can agree on, is just to try to get it to be more simplified, more easy to understand, and that kind of thing. And our friend Karsten Groth, who he's a friend of ours, friend of the community, and he works at Microsoft. He's got an interesting blog post on the licensing simplification around Power Platform, and basically breaking down the new what's called the Power Apps Premium licensing and the Power Automate Premium, and of course you have add-ons and things like that. Now, to say that it's completely simplified and totally easy, that's to be honest, that's still not quite the case. You still have to kind of piece things together, understand what your requirements are, understand what you need to do along that. I think the biggest changes, which I think is probably generating a lot of conversation, and again, I'm not the licensing guru. I can read through the licensing guide, and sometimes it's very complicated because things sometimes seem a little bit contradictory with each other. And so, for instance, I know, if you have the Power Apps Premium, which is kind of formally known as the per user, you can do things like build apps, and you can use Dataverse and those types of things. And then you do have a certain capacity to use Power Automate within the context of your apps. And this is where a lot of conversation is happening. Benedict Bergman also had a blog post on particularly on the Power Automate licensing, because there's been a lot of changes there, or I'm not even sure if changes is the right word, but that they're going to start enforcing the licensing, because right now you could run a lot of these things and you might be out of compliance of licensing and you might not even know it. So if you've built Power Automate flows that run outside of the context of a Power app that you created, then you might need to actually get Power Automate capacity for these particular flows. Or if you've built flows within the context of an app, then yeah, you're fine because your license covers it. So there's a lot of nuances here that you need to consider when you're designing or architecting a solution. Now, despite these changes, there are some tools out there that will help you identify which flows are running outside of context of an app or might be in violation of your licensing. So definitely check those tools out and make sure for your own situation that you are covered. But seriously, at the end of the day, the licensing is sometimes a little bit convoluted and confusing. In my mind, yeah, it is. But then once you've got it sorted out, then we start hearing about, well, it's too expensive for us. Or I hear this, well, it's way too expensive to build this. Think about it. Some of these, let's say if you're on a $20 per user per month, and understanding that there are other discounts with volume, there's not-for-profit pricing. Of course, that's the US retail pricing, so that changes on different jurisdictions. At the end of the day, once you start you need to do a return on investment, or you need to break down the cost. And it's the same thing that you do at home. It's sort of like if you have cable TV. What channels do you want to watch? You want the movie channel. Do you want the sports channel? Maybe you don't. Maybe you don't need it, so don't get it. Maybe you do. And is it worthwhile for you to get that? A lot of the streaming services, I know, I look at the end of the month, I'm like, okay, we've got Netflix, we've got Disney, we've got Prime. Do we need all of these different streaming services? And sometimes you do, sometimes you don't. Like I've canceled certain streaming services that we don't watch anymore. So this type of thing is something within life itself. And then from a business aspect, you look at something like, I've heard the argument, oh, Power Apps is too expensive. But then you look at, but how much productivity are you gaining? And then very quickly, I think you'll be able to see in a lot of cases, the amount of money you'll save on productivity and in terms of data access and data insights and those types of things can get you to a place where it does make business sense to get things properly licensed and try not to work around things like, building an app on a SharePoint list because it's cheaper. That's not a good excuse. It should be, if it needs to be on Dataverse, put it on Dataverse because it's probably going to make business sense. If it doesn't make business sense, don't build the app or don't use the app. So this is my little rant or soapbox when it comes to licensing. I do agree it is complex sometimes. I do agree that yes, it is sometimes a little bit of a sticker shock on a monthly bill. But then if you factor in the cost of doing business, and I've had my business as well, and I subscribe to a lot of business services, and I see that, QuickBooks, the price is going up again next month, and I grumble like, okay, is it really worth my while? But do I need all the features and that type of thing? So that being said, yes, the licensing is going to be enforced a little bit. It may cause you to add some, you may have to increase your capacity, but it also gives you the ability now that you can rethink, is this automation worth it to me or to my business or not? And then, or also you to help your customers understand, is this worth it for our business or not? And I think in a lot of cases you'll find, yeah, it totally is worth it because look at all the things you can do. And now if you took it away, what does that mean? What extra work that's going to happen, or what other systems do you have to consider? So that that was a long-winded, little ranty. I'm not sure if you got anything out of that in terms of what you need or what you don't need. So
and asked you to explain, and you did, and I'm glad. I was fortunate enough to work at a company where we had 5 people that was professional licensing consultants. So I've been privileged enough never to have to think about licensing because we had experts right there. And now I don't. And so now I need to dig into this. And whenever I can get someone like yourself to explain this to me, I learn something new. And the fact that they're going to be enforcing this a little tighter, it's on all of us to try to get it right. And we're consultants and we give advice to our customers. And we need to think about this as well.
And it's interesting because now that we're living in the age of AI and co-pilots, and Microsoft is, all about the co-pilot's going to make your life easy. It's going to make everything interesting. I saw an idea posted on the idea site. And again, if anybody knows about, I think I've said this before, but I'll just repeat it. If you have an idea, wouldn't it be great if Power Platform did X or Dynamics 365 did this? You know what? Chances are, if you have that idea, there's probably a whole bunch of other people that have that same idea. So go and post it on the idea site, or see if that idea is there already and upvote it. With enough votes, the product team will look at this and they'll try to incorporate that. So I saw an idea the other day and it said, how about a co-pilot to figure out Power Platform licensing? And
Yay!
It might have been, it might have been a little, oh, check this out. While I was waiting for you earlier, I found something within, there we go. Do you hear that?
No, I can't hear it. What is it? You need to edit it in. There's an audio.
Oh, sorry. There was clapping there.
Oh, nice. So. Finally, I don't have to do this anymore. Ding, 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 ding.
No, but what you do is unique, and it's part of our brand now. So.
Oh, right. I need to do this every time. Oh, great.
So, yeah.
No, but that's a great idea. I mean, we've talked about this before. Copilot is great, but there are other important things happening. If we could get a licensing guide, a co-pilot to help us out with licensing, oh man, that would change lives.
So we'll put that link in the show notes. So upvote that.
Yes, please. Yes.
Microsoft will build a co-pilot for licensing. So you could say, I want to build this app. I have 10 users and we're going to probably have this amount of data. And it will spit back and give you a list of, here's all the licensing you need, and then what would even be better is a link to go directly to the subscription page and just click off what you need, and away you go. You're done. Easy peasy. Yeah. Put your credit card in here.
I think one of the key problems is in the fact that it is a guide. And that is what Microsoft keep coming back to when we say, please, can you simplify the rules? And they're like, yeah, they're not rules. They're guidelines. It means that it's up for interpretation, and it's on you to figure it out. And it's not a rock solid, watertight rule set. It's a guide. And even if you ask Microsoft directly, the licensing people, they will answer you differently based on their own experience. And that, I think that is probably the thing that I hear rant about the most, is that, yes, we do get that it's complicated, and it's not something that we expect to be easy, but please make it a rule book, or make it tight so that we can actually have an answer with, that is complete and is the same. So, licensing rant, 10 minutes in. Nice. That's great. Let's move on. Do we have anything else? No, we're up. Time's up.
Is it? I thought you were going to talk about the...
No, I'm just kidding. Okay. I'm just kidding. No. Scottish Summit.
Yes.
We did not go to Scottish Summit. That was this Saturday. It was August 5th.
Yeah, I was about to say, were you feeling any FOMO this past weekend?
Actually, I turned it off.
Okay.
I'm going to be honest. And because I couldn't, it just, I spared myself the FOMO because I was at home. I was underneath the blanket in the sofa corner, binging a Netflix series and being down with a cold. So I was not going to expose myself for that,
you weren't curled up.
On top of it, being sick and then having to watch all that. No.
Okay, so you weren't curled up.
But I've seen it afterwards.
You weren't curled up in a ball crying that you were missing Scottish Summit.
I was curled up in a ball and crying, but not over Scottish Summit.
So, Yeah. So
No,
Scott,
did you though? Did you follow it?
I did, because actually it was interesting because I organized. So the story goes with me and Scottish Summit. I put in a couple sessions, like way back when they had the call for sessions. The session that got selected was a panel on, so you want a career in the Power Platform or something like that. And it was meant to be a panel where I was going to organize a bunch of different people to talk about from different aspects, whether you work for a customer, whether you work for a partner, whether you work for Microsoft, or whether you're an independent and you work for yourself. So I put that in, it got accepted. And then however, what happened in terms of scheduling and things like that, originally I was going to go to Grand Cayman to compete in the North American Powerlifting Championships. However, logistics of that got completely crazy and timing and everything. So by the time I canceled that, I still couldn't switch back to go to Scottish Summit. So, but it was a panel. So I told the organizers, I said, I'll still organize the panel. I'll get people. And a big shout out to Allison Mulligan, who was the panel, the panel person who was in charge of the panel, the moderator. Thank you, Brain, for coming up with that.
I didn't say.
No, it was my own brain
yes.
saying, like, what's the word? Moderator. Yeah. So Allison was the moderator. The people that we had Andrew Bibby, who he was an independent, and now he's also part of the team that's putting together Proximal 3. Guro Fowler, who works for Avanade, of course, a big systems integrator. And we also had Daniel Lakowicz, my friend Daniel, who is at Microsoft. He was an MVP before, so he can bring that Microsoft perspective. And for an independent, our good friend Franco Musso brought him in. Woo! So thank you to you four who participated in that panel for me. I think it went really well. And it's funny because I was on WhatsApp before saying, hey, I put the deck together, I put questions together. I helped as much as I could remotely, but they're amazing people. They ran with it. From what I understand, it went over the time, which I know that's really odd for you, that's like for me, especially you, for things to go over time. I don't know how that happens. And they had really good questions. So I'm going to find out a little bit more later in the week, but I'm glad that happened. But in terms of FOMO from Scottish Summit, like my LinkedIn feed was full of sessions. I saw, they don't call them tweets anymore, X's, I think, what they're called, or X posts.
Did they really? Because I thought about that and it didn't. I'm sorry. No, I thought about that. Is we going to call them X's now, or is that? Isn't that taken? Doesn't that mean something else?
It means something.
Anyways, think about that.
That's a whole other conversation for another day.
Yes, I know. I just couldn't help myself.
But I did see. Yeah, it was great. But
a lot of X's.
Yeah. So we saw a lot from Scottish Summit. A lot of different sessions. A lot of new speakers. I was amazed at a lot of people whose names I don't recognize, or I'm recognizing from very new to the community. So that's awesome. It was in Manchester, so it was on tour. I know they raised a lot of money from charity. And this is the other thing. Scottish Summit is now, I believe, in the process, or maybe already is, an official registered charity, which is just amazing. It just goes to show the community coming together. Yes, it is business software. Businesses make money, but also bringing in that community aspect of helping others out. So congratulations to the team from Scottish Summit, another successful event. Yes, very sad that I wasn't there. I have what I love about Scottish Summit. That's where you and I met for the first time in person, was at Scottish Summit. So hopefully next year, I hear it's in Aberdeen. So hopefully next year, maybe we'll get to go and maybe do a podcast recording on site.
Yeah, looking forward to it. It's kind of our event, and I'm so sad I wasn't there, but next year for sure.
Awesome.
It's on the top of my list. So other events, UK Community Awards is on the list to things to talk about. You want to say something about that?
Sure. I'm also, speaking of LinkedIn feeds and seeing, we're beginning to see nominations of people that have been nominated for the UK Community Awards, and that's part of the South Coast Summit, which is coming up, I believe, a little bit later in October. So I believe you can still put in your nominations for that. So, for example, best podcast and YouTube series, just if you're looking for something, Power Platform Boost podcast.
Nominations are open until August 13th. So it's probably, it's just around the corner. And then voting is open from September 1st until 13th of October. And then the award ceremony is October 13th at 7 p.m.
So check that out. Vote or, nominate who your favorites are. And then I believe the voting will come and we'll see what happens there. And I think there's going to be a whole big award ceremony. So get out your
It's right after Vegas. I think it's Nordic Summit, Vegas, and then this right after one another. So, nice
series of events.
And that brings us to Nordic Summit. So that is just around the corner as well. It's sneaking up on us. We have a joint session about 10 top 10 tricks and tips for Power Pages. And of course, we do the recap, the part for this podcast, as we did for the European Power Platform Conference. The discount has expired, but if you get 4 seats, you'll get the 5th seat for free. Isn't that right? Is that for the whole? Is that for the workshops?
That's for all the workshops, and I believe you can even mix and match. So if you're a company and you're sending 5 people, you don't have to send them all to the same workshop. I believe you can have a couple here, a couple there, but if you buy 4 tickets, you get the 5th for free. So nice. That's, if you're a company and you want to ramp up your whole team, this is a great opportunity. And then the other thing that's still not expired yet either is if you do sign up for the My Power Pages workshop, and again, shameless self-promotion, you'll also get an hour of my time to help you out with your project, either before or after.
That's true.
So yeah, and I know we have a bunch of signups already. We do you have a cap as well? I believe no more than 15. So sign up, because unique. If it fills up, it's full. It could be just a matter of capacity. So
and it's to provide that experience also, that the low density that we talked about earlier. No, that's really great. And I think also the conference overall is it's getting pretty full. So if you want to get your ticket, you need to do it now.
And those tickets are, I think there's a fee for lunch or something.
Just to cover the lunch.
Yeah, a small little fee, definitely worth it. So should be no excuse there of not. But the only excuse is sign up now, because it looked like they're running out of tickets. So I know Scottish Summit actually, taking a step back, they sold out, and they actually, the night before, they released a few extra tickets, but that may not happen here either. So register early so you're not disappointed.
Definitely. And then Microsoft Power Platform Conference in Vegas, as we mentioned, the Boost 100 discount code will still give you $100 off your ticket. So if you still haven't signed up for that, then go for it. And this week is Power Pages Week, so they have different weeks for promotion and for marketing. Each product has its own week, and this was week's Power Pages Week. So I have a lot of posts regarding that this week. Just to remind you guys that there are some great sessions on Power Pages and all of the other products as well, of course. So that's really, really cool to see. It's coming together. I'm so excited.
Yeah.
Really, really.
It's going to be awesome time.
Yeah. And last week we did the Boost Quest for this episode. Yeah. Did we get any feedback on that?
Yeah, we got a couple. Our friend Scott Durrell responded. So let me go back to it. The question was all about, for community events or even some of these events, do you consider that work or is that fun? And I think it's funny. It depends, I guess, who you ask. My response was, it's fun. It's something I kind of would do on the side outside of work hours. I think probably maybe because I come from an independent consulting where, I'm working the 5 days and, trying to maximize billable time, and then learning is something you kind of do after hours. Different people have different opinions. We didn't get a lot of responses on this one. Ben, I forget the name.
Ben der Blanken?
Yes, he also responded as well. It was, it's about a great learning experience. Kind of took it outside of the work context as well. And I think that's, from people that I've talked to, that's kind of a lot of the overlying feeling. It is because it is a strong community, it is sort of meeting up with the community. So it doesn't feel like a work event. It feels more like a fun community event. Now, if the same question is posed to like our families, they might have a different answer to that.
Yeah, we should do a better job at marketing what it actually is at home. So mommy needs to go to work, not mommy needs to go to party.
Yes.
Maybe that's what they think I do.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah, no, but it is both work and fun. And especially being on stage or in providing sessions or workshops that we do, I've also had the question, I was on sick leave for a period of time just a couple of years ago, and I still kept up my community presence. I still did, so that was during COVID, I still did a couple of sessions online, and I had colleagues ask me, so you don't feel like you're fit to work, but you can, do sessions for people online? That doesn't add up to me, because, they're introverts or they're not comfortable with that, and that would, take so much of their energy. They couldn't really get that to add up. And I kept saying, it gives me energy. If I wouldn't do this if it wasn't for the fact that I just love to, help people get insights and to learn about Power Platform, or, help people along their way and their journey. And of course, I am an extrovert. I love being on stage. I love providing this for people. I love to hear my own voice and talking on the podcast, right? And it's an energizing thing to me. This is one of those things in my life that I love to do this. So, and I get that from the family perspective. It's hard for them to see because it's so work related. Yeah. But it is also a hobby, and it's to meet friends and be with friends, and yeah, it's a whole package.
Cool. No, it was good, and thank you for those who responded or at least considered the question, even if you didn't respond. And we're working a little bit on the format to that to make it a little bit more, with the polls and the interactivity and everything. So definitely, because the one we had the week before or the 2 weeks before about people that you met in the community and stuff, we had a lot of great response. You did an awesome video with that, Ulrikke, like I told you already. And it was just cool to see everybody chatting about that and considering that and calling out other people and bringing up some old events from years ago that they went to, and those memories were great.
Yeah, and how they met each other, and and actually grabbed someone that was no longer part of the community or is so active, and they responded, and it was really nice to see how that worked out. So yeah, we're trying to figure out the format, as you were saying, and trying to get you guys engaged. And if there's any questions you wanted answered, just shoot us an email or write to us on any of the social platforms, and we'll put up your question and for everyone else to see. We're open for suggestions, as always. Absolutely. Cool. Yeah. And I think that is the bottom of the list for this week. So, and also, I always forget, if you like this podcast, if you want us to continue and you want to support us, you can go to buymeacoffee.com/powerplatboost to buy us a beer or a coffee. It goes towards the licensing for the program, the apps that we use to provide. Speaking of licensing, but totally, totally worth it. It's not free. Yeah, no, it's great to see the people that have supported us so far. Thank you so much. Can you, on the top of your head, figure out what the next date will be? August 23rd. Podcast is in. There you go. And thank you so much for listening to the Power Platform Boost podcast. Please share this with your friends and colleagues in the community, and sharing in social media and ratings on the different podcast apps goes a long way to get us, to extend our reach. So thank you so much for listening, and we'll see you next time for your timely boost of the Power Platform news.